Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the newest rendition of the Ether ranking. If you guys are unfamiliar, this is an ELO based ranking that uses algorithm in the past 6 months of competitive Smash Ultimate, and it gets updated every single week. And for the sake of this video, we're mainly going to be staying within that top 25 range, but if you are curious, it goes all the way down to 150, and I have left the links below to Ether's Twitter. I highly recommend you check them out because this is just overall an incredibly cool list, but let's get right into it. And like I said earlier, a majority of this video will be spent on the top 25, but I do want to talk about the rankings right now in this game because I think the top 27 players are a little bit ahead of everyone else. And no, I didn't pick that number arbitrarily. I just think it's because Zomba and Meister are top 25 caliber right now. They both top 8 at Battle of BC. You have Meister, who hasn't had a bad tournament in a really long time, top 8 in Collision and Low Tide City. You also have Zomba, who got 9th at Kaguribi, beat both Leo and Tweak at Battle of BC. Like, these guys' results recently have been ridiculous. So if you want to put them in the top 25, I honestly agree. I think they should be top 25, but again, this is the past 6 months, and their end of 2022 and start of 2023 weren't super great for both those guys, so that's why they're going to be missing that top 25 area. But again, after this number 27 spot, I think there is a little gap. Again, very little. I think Ouch is close. I think Neo's close. Siski, MK Big Boss. I mean, all these guys that are ranked a little bit below, they are still extremely close, but there is a small cutoff for me. And here we have our lovely top 25 visual. Again, this was made by Ether. Please go check out their stuff. They do a lot of good work. But at 25th, we're going to have Apollo Kage, who had a ridiculous run at Gateway Legends this weekend. Like, he did amazing there. He lost to Yoda Cage very early on in the bracket, and then just went to the losers bracket, got all the way to second place, losing to Luis, got a bunch of good wins along the way. Just looked unreal there. Still the best Snake in the world, even after his underperformance at Battle of BC, where Kronos actually did outplace him, which is something to note, but I would still give that title to Apollo Kage. I also want to mention these +1s, +2s, and you'll see some people with a 0 on it. That just means that they went to an event that weekend, but it didn't change their rating or it made their rating go up or down, because there are some people that are going to be changed from the last ranking that didn't go to any events, and that's just because of natural decay. You know, some events get taken out of the timeline because it's only a 6-month period. Some people get more points, some people get less points, so that's how that is going to be there, and only for some people. Then you have DeBuzz at 24. DeBuzz, as of late, has been cooking. He has been looking so good. Like, it is actually insane. He top 8 Kagadibi after getting upset really early on by Takai. Has a crazy loser run there at the biggest event of the year. And then he also performs at Battle of BC, getting a nice 13th place there. He is full back. DeBuzz is back, baby, and it's nice to see because he had a little bit of a slump towards the start of the year, but these last string of tournaments for him have been looking really strong, and I hope he can continue this. I've been noticing also a lot more Rosalina, and I think that is going to make sense. That kind of is his calling, and he's also ridiculously good with this character, but the Olimar is something that I've been seeing coming out a little bit as well, and I personally really like the Olimar. Not as much Min anymore, which I do think makes sense. I think he kind of dropped the character except for a couple matchups, but DeBuzz seems like he's back to his A game. Then you have Yara at 23. Yara is still the best Sems in the world, even though Siski does overperform him at Battle of BC. Yara's results outside of that have been ridiculous, and even at Battle of BC, he still gets a 17th. He has a Spargo win at Kagadibi. Like, Yara is such a talented player, and his first NA debut, getting 17th at Battle of BC is honestly not that bad. You have Big D at number 22. Big D is so far ahead in the Ice Climbers meta. Like, it is actually ridiculous how much better he is than every other Ice Climber now. There are a lot of still very good Ice Climber players out there that people don't acknowledge. I think immediately two that come to mind, Futari and Harrison in Japan. They are amazing players that do a lot of work, but Big D, he does like exceptional work. He top 8 Summit, gets top 3 at Summit. Top 8's major upset. His only real underperformances are going to be Genesis and Battle of BC, and when you're playing Ice Climbers, having only 2 underperformances, that is kind of crazy. Like, he is just so consistent with this character, and he got that Luminosity pickup recently, so shouts to him for that. At 21, you're going to have Ken. Even though he does do pretty bad at Battle BC, I think he gets 25th there, even after he won the last time. In Japan, he's been looking really good in Japan. Has a bunch of second place most notably at Meisuma top 11. I'd probably say that's going to be his best run. And where he beat Akala, by the way, which is a really good thing. And he's also been playing a lot more Sonic that I've noticed. Maybe I've just been catching all the times he's playing Sonic, but I personally like that a lot more because Sephiroth and Sonic, they are both difficult characters, but Sonic is leagues better than Sephiroth. So if you're going to be putting in that work, you might as well do it with Sonic. And I still think that he should keep the Sephiroth. I still think that's a great counter pick, a great secondary, but the core Sonic focus, I really appreciate that from Ken. In 20th, you're going to have Zach Ray. Now, Zach Ray has 2 real results this season. They're both going to be at Kaguribi, getting 3rd place at both the Kaguribi events in the ranking season. So that from him, insanely impressive. Everything else hasn't been amazing, but the fact that he has those Kaguribi results are honestly enough. And also, he got those results while playing Pit. I don't know how he does it. I don't think anyone else in the world does, because there's no other Pit players having results even close to this. Like, it is actually insane how good Zachary is. It doesn't even feel like he's just like playing Pit and he's like really good at Pit. It just feels like he's playing Ultimate and he's better than people. It doesn't even look like he's playing this mid tier. He looks like he's playing a top tier. He is ridiculous. He just overwhelms people. His combo game is so fluent. Everything he does is with purpose. I can go on and on about Zachary, but just know he's really, really good and definitely deserving of that top 20 spot. In 19, you're going to have Onan. Now, Onan doesn't have an amazing season. He has an underperformance at Let's Make Big Moves, a 17th at Battle of BC, and he hasn't been to any other majors. Also, at Battle of BC, he only lost to me and Kameme, which are two really tough matchups, by the way, but it's not too bad from Onan. But the regionals, he's been doing really well. He's won pretty much every single regional he's been to, if not literally all of them. He's been farming those, which is still a good thing. We only have 2 major performances from him, so it's kind of tough to say how good he actually is right now, but I still have a lot of faith in Onan. He's still clearly a very talented player. That Mia set, he definitely could have won and then been top 8 winner side of Battle of BC. He would have had to win one more set after, but I have faith in him to do that because Onan is insane. I just kind of want to see more of him in the season so we can give him a more deserving rank, because I definitely think he is still in that top 10 area. You have Kameme as well, number 18, who actually beat Onan at Battle of BC, as well as pretty much everyone else in the world. Most notably, he got Leo out at 13th, one of his lowest placements ever, and he did it with Sora. Now, Sora, unlike Pit, is really, really good, but like Pit, is a very uncommon character. Kameme is clearly the best of his craft, and that run from Battle of BC, plus other results he has alone, are definitely warranted of a top 18 spot. And speaking of characters that aren't that common, but there's one of them farming everyone, Yoshidora at 17th. He top 8s Battle of BC, he top 8s pretty much every event that he goes to. He is so clearly the best Yoshi in the world, and Yoshi is still a good character, kind of between that area of, he's not as bad as Pit, but he's not as good as Sora, kind of right around there, still very broken. That double jump is ridiculous, but Yoshidora, I mean, Mude's put it best. This guy plays feral. He does not care. He goes for the craziest things, and most of the time, he's going to be hitting them. Ridiculously talented. His aggression is amazing. His egg use is insane. Just Yoshidora is such a scary threat, and there is no one else in the world like him. And then finally, at 16th, you have Kurama, who's had a couple okay results this season and a couple really strong ones. His really strong ones are going to be at Summit and Major Upset, where he does very well. Then he does okay at Genesis and Collision, but I think he's going to Crown this weekend, so I'm really excited to see how he performs there. I'm hoping it's going to be that good South Kurama, because watching good Kurama is so fun. His movement is just insanely fluid. Like, he is such a talented player, and I'm really hoping he performs. Still the best Mario in the world, even though Mario players have been doing really well. Like, Dark Wizzy's kind of back, Now is kind of back, Tavares is a really good one on the rise. There's so many. Ludo as well doing really well, Major Upset. Like, Mario players have been bouncing up left and right, but I would still say Kurama is the best one because his peaks are phenomenal. Also, something I forgot to mention, but there are points below all the players' names, and these points are basically just how you're going to be ranked. And as you can see, some of these players have the same amount of points. Yoshidora, Kurama, and Osmo, they all have the same amount of points. All those players are fairly interchangeable on the ranking, but just thought I should point that out. But let's talk about Osmo in 15th, because this guy is ridiculous. He's a player that I 100% had in my top 10 towards the start of the season. He's faltered off a little bit, but his results are still very strong. Clearly the best Ryu in the world. Like, there was no other FGC player like Osmo doing it like this. Like, you obviously have Riddle having a lot of success, but I view Riddle's more as a Kazuya player, and for some reason I don't feel Kazuya as FGC, but Osmo doing it solely with Ryu, which is also, I feel like, kind of weird. I feel like most of the FGC players usually are going to play like all the FGC characters because they are fairly similar, but Osmo, he sticks out basically 100% Ryu, and it's for a good reason. It's because that Ryu works. That Ryu is ridiculous. He is so good at this game. Like, he makes it look like Smash 4. He's actually insane, and I really just need to see more of Osmo. He's probably my favorite Japanese player to watch, and we just don't get to see him overseas a lot, but when Osmo goes to stuff, he's always a major threat that I think is probably going to win his next big major soon, because he hasn't won a major yet, and again, big emphasis on that yet, because I think he's right around the corner. You have SkyJ in 14th as well. Now, we know how well SkyJ's been doing recently. He has a 17th at Battle BC, which isn't too bad, especially considering that he loses to Leo in 17th. But before that, he top 8s Collision, getting 2nd place at Collision with Incineroar. Then he top 8s Summit. Like, SkyJ is so good, and he's, again, doing this with Incineroar. You look at the characters above him, these are like your the best characters. You have a Peach, you have a Pac-Man, you have a Sonic, and then out of nowhere, you got this Incineroar player just farming everyone. He is insanely talented, and I just hope he continues to do well, because every single time he performs, I'm genuinely impressed. In 13th, you're going to have Mudes. Now, Mudes of seasons, it's been up and it's been down. And the up is crazy. He has a 2nd place at Genesis. He won Low Tide City. He beat Spargo and Riddles at Summit. Then his down is an amazing. All of Japan, I'm not even going to talk about Japan for Mudes, but just know it was really, really, really bad. Like, it's probably going to hurt his season a lot. Even if he does do really well for the remainder of the season, it's going to be tough for him to get a tough placement because of how bad the Japan results are. But hey, it happens. Also, they are really good versus Peach in Japan, just something I thought I should point out. Shoutouts to Umeki, by the way. But Mutes has some of the highest peaks in the game. Like, when he is at peak, he looks like he is the best player in the world, and sometimes he does not quite look like that. Also, I forgot to mention, he does have a 13th place at Battle of BC, which is a pretty good result. I mean, a lot of people above him are going to have worse results at Battle of BC. So, you know what? You can't flag him for that one too much. At number 12, you have Bloom. Now, Bloom, this is a bit of a tricky one because he has basically only regionals and he also has only wins. So when Bloom goes to stuff, he wins them. Europe hasn't had any majors yet. He hasn't traveled abroad yet in this year. So we don't have a ton of data on Bloom forever. But I'm just going to say that this number 12 ranking is warranted because this guy is ridiculous. He just looks better than everyone he's playing. Like I said it earlier about Zachary, that times 30 for Bloom. Like it is actually insane how good he is at the game. I feel like you don't even have to understand Smash super well to just look at Bloom forever and be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that should be winning. He just makes the correct choice, gets the insane punish. His combo game is unreal. His patience is phenomenal. I could go on and on about how good Bloom is, but TLDR, that number 12 spot, even without the results, I would still warrant it. And at number 11, you're going to have Gluttony. Now, I think Gluto as well, absolutely fine here. 9th at Battle of BC is going to be his worst performance of the year, because everything else he went to, he top 8'd. Top 8 at Genesis, top 8 at Let's Make Big Moves. He's been going decently well at all the regionals he's been doing in Europe. Now, he isn't winning any of those regionals notably, so he is dropping sets to Bloom, to Lugi, to Siski, but if those are the only players you're going to be dropping sets to, it's honestly not the end of the world because those guys are extremely talented. I mean, you have Bloom right behind him at that number 12 spot, and his major results in NA have been fairly strong. So I think Gluttony at number 11 is definitely deserving, and he's like one of 2 players that I would even shift into the top 10 area, and we'll talk about that, I guess, right now. Now let's actually talk about that number 10 spot, and there are only 2 people in the world I could see in this number 10 position. I think one of them is T, and I think the other one is Gluto, because the 9 players above them are 1,000% top 10, and the players below them I don't think are quite top 10 yet. I think the only ones I would maybe slot in there are Bloom, Onan, and Mutes, but Bloom and Onan just don't have enough results yet for me to super confidently say, yeah, they're going to be top 10, and Mutes has his Japan trip, which is going to be holding him back a lot, but T and Gluto have both been doing very, very well, and I think T being in the number 10 spot is absolutely fine. His results have been a little bit shaky in the season. He has some really high highs. He has a 2nd place at Ubabor to start off the season, as well as a top 8 at Meisuma top 12, but he also has 17th at both Meisuma top 11 and the latest Kaguribi. So some of those results not amazing, some of them are really good, and the fact that T has some of his weaker results this season and is still top 10 kind of just shows the caliber of player he is, and he's still by far the best Pac-Man. Despite Pac-Man being a fairly popular character, T just seems like he is leagues better than everyone else with this character. I feel like the only run we've seen super notably as of late has been JDV's run at Battle BC, which was also very good. Shouts to Battle BC, but T still the best Pac-Man. I don't think he's the best Kazuya necessarily. I think Riddles definitely has that title, but regardless, ranting a little bit, T is ridiculous and definitely deserving of that top 10 spot, and at worst you put him at like 11. At 9 you're going to have Shuton, which is where I would rank him. I think 9 for Shuton, I mean, I swear I'd rank him. I think it makes a lot of sense. He has an amazing run at Battle BC, like really, really strong there. He also wins Kowloon 5 and Wave 4, but he does have a couple underperformances here and there, so has the highest highs in the game, or some of the highest highs in the game, as well as some of the lower lows in the top 10 area. So I think this number 9 spot makes a ton of sense. And for 6, 7, 8, I think all these players are fairly interchangeable. Sorry I had some mic issues, but my order of this 6, 7, 8 area would probably be Mia in first, Riddles in second, and then Sonics in third. And the only reason I put Sonics below these 2 guys is just because he doesn't have a major win yet, but also Sonics doesn't have a bad performance, which Riddles and Mia both share. But let's start with Riddles, who starts off the season super massive, obviously, by winning Collision. Winning Collision is a super big deal. He also does pretty well at Summit, even though he gets 9th place. He beats both Leo and Spargo. He does pretty good at Major Upset. He does pretty good at Let's Make Big Moves. He does unfortunately have underperformances at both Genesis and Battle of BC. Battle of BC is only a 17th, but a 33rd at Genesis. But Japan, for Riddles, is where he just went off. He did not miss a beat in Japan like most of NA did. Most of NA's bad results are from Japan. Not Riddles. He top 8'd every single tournament that he went to, looked incredibly solid, and that's kind of one of the reasons that he is ranked so high right now, because he dominated in both NA and Japan. So I think number 8 for him is good. Again, I personally put him number 7, but one difference doesn't really matter. At number 7, though, you're going to have Sonics. Sonics doesn't have bad results. Now, he doesn't have a major win yet, and everyone else above him, I believe, does have a major win in the season. Actually, there's one person above him that doesn't have a major win yet, but Sonics' results are just good. Most recently, he gets a 2nd place at MomoCon, which is a huge regional, only losing to Light, but he was able to beat Light once. He's beaten Spargo this season. He's beaten Leo this season. He has a top 4 at Genesis, a top 4 at Let's Make Big Moves. Like, Sonics is just insanely talented. He does not get bad results, and every single time he goes to an event, it feels like this could be the one that Sonics wins, because because you know he's going to get another major win. It's around the corner, and every single time he's in the bracket, it's like, yeah, he can beat literally anyone in here except Light, but then he beat Light recently. So now everything is on the table, and Sonics is just insanely talented. At number 6, you're going to have Mia. Now, Mia is probably the hardest player in the world to rank, at least in my opinion, because he has some really bad results. I'm talking he has a 49th bad results, but he also has a bunch of major wins. He also has a top 8 at Battle BC, a top 8 at Kaguribi after making one of the most ridiculous runs I have ever seen in Smash Ultimate. So Mia's kind of a tough player for me to rank. I won't say super confidently. I think he definitely should be 6. Again, I think this Mia Riddles area is fairly interchangeable, but what I will say is give it a year or two, maybe even a month or two, Mia's probably going to be top 5 if he isn't already. And then after that, probably going to be top 3, then probably top 2, then maybe even top 1. Like Mia, his rapid rate of improvement, he's only been a top player for like a year now, maybe even less so, and he's already top 6 in the world. Ridiculously talented, still the best game watch. Meister, though, he's making it a lot closer with his recent performances. It's not as one-sided as it seems to be, but if you just look at Mia's results, you have to give him that title because he has multiple major wins this season already. Like, Mia is ridiculous. Now we have the top 5, and the only thing I would change is going to be Light and Leo, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. They have the exact same amount of points, as you can see, so this was probably just more for the theatrics, but I think Leo should still be ranked higher. He should still be top 4, even with like his quote-unquote underperformance at Battle BC. He got 13th. It's not the end of the world. Definitely not to the caliber that he used to be, though, but every event that Leo and Light have been to, Leo has either overperformed Light or exactly placed Light, and the head-to-head is going to be in Leo's favor. I think it's 2-0, but I could be wrong about that, so I'm still going to have Leo at that number 4 spot and Light at top 5, but I think all of these players are top 5, and the only one, again, maybe you have arguments for being top 5 is Mia, but with his low lows, I wouldn't put him in there, but you have Light at 5th, let's say, Leo at 4th, this top 3, I feel like it's just correct. You know, Tweak at 3rd basically doesn't have bad results. His worst result is 9th at Battle BC. Aquila at 2nd doesn't have bad results. And Spargo at 1st has one bad result at Summit, but his last 3 events, he has won them, and they've been kind of dominant. He's only dropped sets to Leo and Yara. He has a super positive record over Aquila, who's the 2nd best player in the world. The start of his season is good, the middle is good, and the ending right now, he has just been farming. Even if he doesn't get ranked the best in the world, which is still a possibility for the season just because Aquila has so many wins under his belt, Spargo clearly looks like the best player in the world right now and is 100% deserving of that number 1 spot. And that is all I have to say. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you are curious and you want to check out more of this stuff, I will leave a link down below to all that Ether has done because he does a lot of work into this. And this is just a really cool thing to talk about. These rankings are by no means official. They're just kind of fun. Official rankings are right around the corner, though. The season is going to be wrapping up within a month or so. So get hyped for that. This play right now in Smash Ultimate is amazing. This is the best we have ever seen the game, at least competitively, in my opinion, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I thank you guys for watching. Sport's been absolutely unreal, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.